everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Tegan, and today I'm going to do a video very different than the ones I've done previously. It's my first sit-down video, and I want to share with you how to have a successful DITY or PPM move with the military. If you're unfamiliar with those terms, DITY means do it yourself, and PPM is the official acronym for the military, which is personally procured move. This means that in lieu of having the military pay for movers to come pack your items and drive them from one destination to the next, that you are going to, as the name suggests, do it yourself. The first thing you need to know if you are thinking about doing a DITY move is you must have CONUS to CONUS orders, which means you are moving from one stateside base to another stateside base, with the exception of Alaska. Yes, I know that Alaska is a state. I am from there. However, the military considers Alaska and Hawaii as overseas destinations. Now, you can do a DITY move to Alaska because it is drivable, but Hawaii and all of your other overseas locations are, of course, not. So if your orders are CONUS to CONUS, stateside to stateside, or CONUS to Alaska, Alaska to CONUS, and you are thinking about doing a DITY move, please keep watching. I have a lot of tips to share with you. If you're unfamiliar with my spiel at the beginning of my cleaning videos, I am prior service. I'm prior active duty Air Force, and having done 2 PCSs as the service member really helped me when it was time to do my first PCS as a dependent. Now, my experiences PCSing when active duty was actually CONUS to CONUS, so I had an overseas assignment and then I came from overseas back to the States. Even though the procedure varies when you are PCSing overseas, the process is still quite similar, so that really helped me when it was time to do my first CONUS to CONUS move. When you have a CONUS to CONUS assignment, you have a few different options for moving. The first one is that you can do a full military move. In this situation, the military pays for movers who come to your house, pack up your things, load them in the truck, take them to your next destination, and then we'll unload them into your house. The next option is you can do a partial PPM, or a personally procured move. That's so many P's. This means that you pack some of your things and drive them to your next destination, and the military hires movers that pack and drive the rest of your items. Choosing to move yourself can be extremely daunting in the beginning. I do not want to minimize that at all. In fact, I have been either active duty or a spouse for the last 12 years, and I always told myself I would never, ever, ever in my life do a full DITY move. I thought the people who did DITY moves were actually insane. And then I did one, and I never want to not do one. Once you know you want to move yourselves, there are a few things that you'll want to start doing right away just to get the ball rolling and to help you stay organized and focused. If this is your first PCS and you're unfamiliar with the process, what happens is the service member will get an email that says that they have been selected for a PCS or a permanent change of station. Within that email, it'll say where they are going and when they need to be there by. Once you have the location and the date that you have to be there by, then you can start planning. As soon as an assignment drops, the first thing that I do, and what I suggest other people to do, is start researching that location. Even if you grew up there, you were stationed there, you had visited there previously, cities and towns are constantly evolving, as are bases. You never want to just fall back on past knowledge. You want to stay up to date with the most current information about that location. Now, what you research will heavily depend on the needs of your family at the time, but the top one is going to be housing, because you will always need a place to live. Other things you may want to look at are schools and school districts if you have children, daycare availability. If you are the civilian and you want to work, then you may look at job opportunities there, or seeing if your current job can transfer to your next location. And if you have a profession that requires licenses within certain states, you want to start looking at those states and seeing if you need to update your license, or if they have military waiver, which some professions with some licenses do have, but you'll have to start researching that. The next thing, start getting yourself onto Facebook groups. I cannot stress this enough. Facebook group, Facebook group, Facebook group. Yes, they can have drama. You're just gonna have to bypass that, because Facebook is gonna be your go-to for finding out what's a good place to live, where is the good places to eat, fun things to do on the weekends, staying up to date on events on base if you want to participate in those, and getting insight into people there, and also making friends ahead of time. That can be very helpful to get there and already know someone. Even if you don't know them in person, you've at least been talking online, and maybe you guys can have a lunch date or something and start developing a friendship from there. These groups will also help you get recommendations for things like doctors if you're seeing off base, dentists, orthodontists, chiropractors, book clubs, you name it. these groups can help you find them. So you'll want to look for like the city's Facebook page because they'll post events there. You'll want to find the base Facebook page, and then if there is any spouses pages, you'll want to try and add yourself to those. And if you're going to live on base, you can get yourself onto the base housing Facebook group pages as well. The next thing you'll want to look at is how many cars are you going to take with you. So if you are a 2-car family and one is able to tow, are you going to drive that and tow a moving trailer? Or are you going to drive a moving truck and tow 1 car behind you? Or are you going to downsize to 1 car? You also can ship a car, however, that's extremely expensive. But if that's in the cards for you and what you want to spend your money on, then that is also an option. We were extremely fortunate in this case because we are a 2-car family, and while my Explorer can tow, it was not going to tow an entire household worth of crap. So we were able to get a moving truck, and my parents actually flew from Alaska to Virginia to help us drive. We had an extra set of hands to help with our kids, to help pack up the last of the items, for us to be able to run last minute errands without having to like load up everyone in the car. This also meant that the driver of the Explorer, which had the kids in it, had a passenger at all times to help with the kids. And this was like life-changing, because if you have ever driven a long distance by yourself with kids in the back seat, you know. So having them there, that was so helpful. So my mom and I spent most of the time in my car. My dad drove my husband's car, and then my husband drove the U-Haul for 5 days. So if you have that option and someone is willing to come and help you, take that help. You will want it, and you will be so happy that you had it later. Once you know how many cars you're going to take, then you need to go ahead and make that truck reservation. You want to make your truck reservation as soon as you know what dates you want to leave, because PCS season is expensive. PCS season is usually the summertime. That's when most people start moving, and prices go up significantly. So the earlier you can get that reservation and lock in that price, the better. Now, I learned this from my friend because we helped them move about 3 weeks before we moved. We helped them drive to Florida. U-Haul canceled on them the day before. And I do mean the day before. Like, their house was almost completely packed up. We were gonna load the truck on Saturday and Sunday and leave on Monday. And Friday afternoon at like 5:30 p.m., they call and say, hey, sorry, we don't have a truck available. Yeah, so that can happen. So if you are doing it one way with U-Haul, read the fine print in there. It does say that they don't guarantee anything until 24 hours beforehand. I have thoughts on that, but that's their procedure. But that whole fiasco is actually a huge lesson moment for us, where I realized, hey, I do want U-Haul because they are the most economical. However, I need a backup reservation. So we had this U-Haul reservation for like months now, and I called and made a Penske reservation as a backup. Penske does do a penalty-free cancellation. So as soon as I got the phone call from the U-Haul that they had confirmed my truck, I was able to cancel Penske with no penalty. And so having the option of both, just in case one went south, really helped us in the long run, and that's definitely something to keep in mind. Next thing, sort out your helpers. Sort out your helpers. If you have friends who can help, great. Family, great. Either way, you'll want someone to come help you, because you do not want to lift all of your belongings by yourself with your spouse. It's worse than building IKEA furniture. You will want to murder each other. So make sure you get helpers. If friends and family aren't an option for you, have the service member discuss this with their command, because they will absolutely find people to help you. Everyone's always looking for a volunteer bullet. That's a huge one that they can put on their EPR. So if you need help, let your command know and someone will come help you. Once you know when you're going, when you're leaving, and you've got all that confirmed, start planning your route. Now, this doesn't mean you have to pinpoint every exact stop, but if you have at least a general idea of where you want to stop at for lunch and for overnight, then it makes the driving a little less stressful, because you're not just constantly being like, okay, just pull over at the soonest McDonald's that you see. I'm starving. I have to get out of the car. These kids are driving me nuts. Once you know where you're stopping overnight, this is a good time to go ahead and make hotel reservations if you want to. That's not a requirement. I think it makes life a little bit easier because you already know which hotel and you're not scrambling trying to find some place that's open. But when you do, you'll want to make sure that they honor the government rate. Something I learned this time, I was under the impression that they had to honor it. That was my mistake for one of the nights. But You want to make sure that they honor the government rate, and that means you'll get the discounted government approved rate so you aren't coming out of pocket on hotels. Last thing that you'll want to do when the assignment drops is make a binder. I make a binder for everything, but especially moves. I have made a binder for every single PCS move. It just helps everything stays completely organized. All of your paperwork is in one spot. So I made the binder and my husband took it to work with him and then he brought it home. And anything that was new, I organized with him. We did it. I was gonna say we did some of it together. That's a lie. I did it. But it just meant that everything was in one spot. So also when you're moving and you need something, pull it out of the binder. Let's move on to your timeline. So from the time that the assignment drops to the time that you move, you want to do things in a certain succession to make it more seamless for you. So something you can do on the earlier end of things, like a few months before you move, is start purging. Go room by room through your house and choose what you want to keep, what you want to donate, what you want to sell, and what you want to just throw away because it's at that point rude to donate it. I can guarantee you aren't keeping everything because you will start looking at something and go, yeah, I don't want to move that across multiple states. Oh, my kids outgrew that. Oh, I don't really do that thing anymore. Now's the time to start going through every single room, whittle that down. You will naturally purge a little bit more as you're packing, but at least you got the bulk of it out of the way and all that stuff is out of your house to make room for all of the boxes. Once your purging is done, start sourcing boxes. Not buying boxes, sourcing them. If you currently live in base housing, start looking for those people posting their boxes. If you haven't seen anyone in a while, just put a post yourself and say, hey, looking for boxes if anyone has them, can come pick up. I got, I'd say like 95% of our packing material for free doing that. Most of it was within the housing community itself. The cost of boxes and packing paper can really add up. So if you can get those for free, not only are you saving so much money, but you're also helping decrease waste because you are reusing. Now, 1 to 2 months out is when you're gonna start planning appointments. These appointments don't necessarily have to be done until closer to the time that you're leaving. In fact, some of them have to wait. However, if you call around 2-month time for certain ones, it'll be easier for you to get scheduled. So the ones you're looking at scheduling about 2 months in advance are gonna be maybe well baby checks if applicable. If anyone sees any specialists, that would be the time to call. Dentists, those appointments you're going to have to plan to schedule really far out because their appointment time might not be closer until you're leaving. Now, appointments that you can schedule starting 1 month out is going to be like oil changes for the cars. You'll want to make sure you get those done if you haven't had them done recently. If you have pets, you'll want to schedule one last visit with their vet in order to get what's called a health certificate. Not every location will ask for this, but some hotels do require that you provide a certificate of health for your pet or pets. And this means that they have seen the vet within 14 days of arriving to that location that says that they are healthy and they are updated on their shots. And that's the next thing you want to do is have a copy of your pet's shot records. Most places at this point can email or fax records as a whole, but having those shot records on hand will alleviate any issues that you may run into later on when someone is trying to find out if your cat or dog is fully vaccinated. And then most importantly, any appointments you need for yourself. So maybe that means getting one last massage in or seeing the chiropractor or going to your doctor or dentist and refilling any medications you may need. That is the time to do it. Do not neglect yourself. Now that we're at the 1 month mark and you've made all of your appointments, decide if you're going to clean your house yourself or if you're gonna hire cleaners. I originally thought I was gonna clean it myself, and as we got closer and closer, I was like, yeah, I don't wanna do this. I will pay money. I've done enough. And if you don't wanna clean it yourself, don't feel bad. You have done enough and it is worth the money. This is a great time for those Facebook groups that you added to yourself when you PCS to this location to find out who are cleaners that people recommend for a PCS move. Especially if you live in military housing, you are going to want to find a company or a person that specializes in military moves because they know exactly what housing representatives are going to look for. Also, if you are in housing or you are renting, this is where you need to give your 30 days notice to your leasing manager or the office manager, whoever your person is, so that you are following their requirements and also so that you can schedule with them all of their pre and final out appointments that they may have for you. And finally, for your 1 month out, you are going to start packing. And I know, again, that seems like, why would I pack things a month before leaving? Because time moves fast. Look at all these appointments you've just made and all this time that you have to spend outside of here. You are going to want to start packing 1 month out. I found a really, really helpful like timing checklist online that I will link below, and it broke everything down week by week. Actually started, I think, like 6 weeks out, but I followed it from 4 weeks on. So 4 weeks, you know, you can start maybe if you have an attic or a garage or a storage room, a linen closet, places that you don't use super often, and then whittle it down as you go. And then the final thing that you'll want to pack is typically the kitchen. So I will have that link below because they are much more thorough than I just was, but I felt like that gave me a very realistic and helpful timeline for packing. As you start packing your lesser used items, you will want to start making a list of things that you want on hand while you're moving that do not get packed in boxes and don't go into the moving truck. So think of these as like your suitcases with clothes and deciding how much you're gonna pack in a suitcase versus how much is going into the moving truck. Extra diapers, wipes, pull-ups, if you're a woman, tampons and pads, because even if you're not supposed to have your cycle, stress can trigger one, and you don't want to have to make this like last minute run to the store if you don't have to, or especially if you're on the road and there's like no store in sight, you just don't want to be caught off guard. Also toiletries, stuff for in the car, things for your pets that need to be on hand, like a bed for them or a kennel and their food bowls. All of those things would go on a necessities list, and you would know not to pack those away. Now about, I'd say a week or two before you leave, that's when you just want to confirm your route. If you already have your hotel confirmations, then you're good to go for overnights, but you just want to make sure that you're still stopping where you want to for lunches. I keep calling them lunch. You don't necessarily have to eat there, but where you want to take your long break during the day, especially if you have a multiple day drive. Now that you have moved out of your current home and your stuff is all packed away in the truck and you are ready to hit the road, make sure that every driver knows exactly where they're going. Now you don't have to have the whole route confirmed with them, but you definitely need to know stop by stop where you are going. That way, if you get separated or if someone needs gas and the rest of the people want to keep going, or someone has to pee, or whatever the case is, you just want to make sure that you're all heading to the same exact point. So making sure everyone has the exact same address on their GPS will make that easier. Also, make sure you keep a cleaning spray handy, not just like a cleaning spray, but like a cleaning spray. Like think a multi-purpose or a Lysol, and either paper towels or cleaning cloths handy in the cars. And finally, on the road, expect delays. If GPS says that you're gonna get from A to B in 3 hours and 30 minutes, add an extra hour minimum. Even if you don't end up taking that full hour, having that in the back of your mind that this could take 4.5 hours instead of 3.5 hours, it just helps. It just helps, you know, lower your expectations of how quickly you're gonna get somewhere, and the long stretch of driving time is not as mentally taxing. Now for some pro tips that either I learned along the way, I made up myself, or I got from friends and want to impart to you. The first one is for packing your items, buy shrink wrap. I know I just said source your materials, and you absolutely should, but for really big furniture pieces that obviously cannot go into a box, get shrink wrap. If you have ever watched somebody move you see them like with shrink wrap around your couch. Look, you want that. I promise you, you want that. It helps protect your items from moisture. It also helps prevent tears in fabrics. Buy the shrink wrap. I will link below the ones that we got from Amazon. They were very inexpensive, especially for the peace of mind that they gave me. My next tip is buy some labels. This is also something you could potentially source if you know someone who just recently moved or is moving and still has those on hand or has extras, but get labels for your boxes. Ones that I didn't know I would ever use, but I did find very helpful, were my friend, when she moved, she bought these brightly colored labels for like the location. So they would say like kitchen, and all the kitchen would be blue, bedroom would be orange, dining room would be pink, or whatever, you know. So they were brightly colored and all different colors based on the room. This was extremely helpful because we did have help moving into our home, and so those people knew exactly where things went because there was this bright colored thing on it. So my friend who had moved before me gave me her unused room labels, and then I had ones that I had purchased that were just numerical labels. So they said like 001, 002. That way I could numerize my inventory. And the next thing I did was make an inventory sheet. So on box 1, put the little sticker, and on my inventory sheet I wrote linens. So I'm looking at box 001, and maybe I wrote on it, maybe I didn't, but I, at a minimum, wrote on here. And so I knew, okay, box 1 has linens. It also helped doing the reverse. If I was looking for something specific, I could go to my inventory sheet and say, it is in this box. Once we got to our location and we were unpacking, as we unpacked, I checked off each box as it came, which also meant that I didn't lose anything because it's all checked off. Next thing is a parts box, which I should have in front of me, but I don't. Make yourself a parts box. I know it's pretty standard to like tape, to put the parts of furniture or of an item into a Ziploc bag and then tape it to the back of that item. You absolutely can do that. I found it more helpful to put all of the pieces, parts of everything into one box, and that box did not go into the moving truck. That came with us. That was one of our like necessities, if you will. While you are on the road, get yourself a set of Walkie Talkies. Again, I will link in the description box the ones that we got from Amazon. Now you might be thinking, why do I need Walkie Talkies? We have Bluetooth and cell phones, just use those. Okay, a few reasons here. One is there are going to be dead spots no matter what cell service you have, and you may need to get a hold of the other driver. The other thing is there is a lag from the time that you know you need to communicate with somebody to dialing, to getting that to ring, to then getting them to answer. And if someone's driving a moving truck, there's no guarantee that they have hands-free capability. So having a walkie-talkie that you can just right here, or I put mine on the visor, and everyone's on the same channel, so you just do, and you relay what you want to do, you let go, and they can respond. This was so helpful, especially when we're talking into 3 different cars, because then everyone's hearing the same message. There's not constantly trying to relay one car to another. So walkie-talkies. If you have really young kids, you are going to want car-friendly activities for them. This PCS, our kids were 3 and 5. So what we had for them and how we went about it was very different from our PCS beforehand when we only had one son and he was 7 months old. Now, if you have an infant, something I found super helpful when I was driving, because it was just me and my son in the car, I had different baby toys stuffed into my center console. And so when he would get really fussy, I would like pull out one and just reach back and plop it into his car seat. And he would be content with that forever long. And as soon as he threw that out and he wanted, he was screaming, then treasure chest and dump it back. Whenever we stopped, I was able to gather everything and put it back into the glove box, and then it's like brand new again. As for this time, when our kids were a little bit older and we had 2 of them, I got them new coloring books and crayons that I did not show to them at all until we were driving. I also got them the little poppet things that are kind of trendy right now. Again, I didn't show those to them. I think like a couple of books. I tried to keep their activities very inexpensive, so think like Target dollar spot situation, and new. So they hadn't seen them and didn't even know about them until we started driving. And then the tablets. I never ever thought I'd be like a tablet mom. I was like, I don't get the point of it. But definitely having some sort of like screen entertainment was very helpful for us, because we were driving for 5 days. I don't know if you've ever been in a car with kids for 5 days, but there are gonna be times where you're just like, shh, quiet back there. So something else you'll want to do is have only one suitcase that you are traipsing in and out of the various hotels. That's not something I thought about initially. So I had separate bags for like everything to keep me organized while packing. But the first time unloading all this into a hotel, I was like, no, it's not gonna work. So keep everything that you need to travel with, like in and out of hotels, in one bag. It's fine once you get to your next destination, if you're gonna be in TLF there for a few days or a couple weeks or however long, yeah, then it's fine, bring in all the stuff. But when you are just one-nighting it, one bag, you're already gonna have a lot of crap. So if you can minimize your suitcase just to one, it'll make your life a lot easier. My last and possibly most important tip is one that we touched on earlier, and that's make a binder. Make yourself a handy dandy PCS binder. I normally have a cover on the front that says, PCS, the year, and then where we're going to. Just for privacy, I removed that, but I do keep it labeled that way. It doesn't get mixed up with anything else. This is something my husband took to work with him when he was out processing. We kept it in the car with us or in hotel rooms, and then we have it at the house now, and I still haven't taken it apart because it has everything that we need when it's time to file our taxes. When you're PCSing, you're going to want to keep copies of like literally everything.
Hi everyone, Editing Tegan here. So when I made this and I spoke about the binder, I was talking for 30 minutes straight. It just seems wrong to make you sit through all of that. So instead, in the description box below, I'm going to list the categories that I used, and hopefully that will help you. And we're going to jump back in talking about receipts. Okay, bye.
You may need receipts for the travel voucher that the service member fills out upon arrival. This sort of varies finance to finance if they want physical copies or if they're okay with you just inputting numbers. It also gives you an accurate number of what you've spent, and it will be there for you during tax time because this is taxed. So the military is still paying for your move. It's just that instead of paying a moving company, they are paying you. Now they don't pay you the same amount that they would pay a moving company. That number is a little bit different. However, they are still paying, which means it is taxable. A lot of what you have to pay for can be reimbursed with taxes or giving credit. I'm not a tax person. I just know you enter it in and the government goes, ooh, yeah, we owe you a little bit more money. So you'll want to keep those receipts. I don't know how to end this. So here we are, but I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope you feel more empowered during your next DITY move. If you have any questions regarding a DITY move or really any other kind of military move, please leave them in the comments below and I will get to them. Or if you have any advice for how to have a successful PCS, also please feel free to leave those below. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time. Stop looking around. Just look at the camera. It's not that hard. Okay, I'm moving. Okay. My teeth moving has really changed my speech. Okay. Okay. Jesus Christ. When you have, Jesus. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It'll say, oh, they'll get me. Okay. And my parents actually flew from Alaska. And my parents actually flew. I can hear my kids. Someone crying? No. Oh, my camera's gonna die. Ask them to be quiet. Here they come.
Mommy.
Yeah.